Good evening and a warm welcome to all the viewers joining us. Along with Dr. Mangesh Bhalerao, Head of Medical Services, I am Avinash Singh, and on behalf of RPG Life Sciences, we welcome all for today's session on role of azathioprine in renal transplant. To talk more on this, on our request again, we have with us our respected guest speaker, Dr. G. Sudhakar, again with us. Welcome, Sudhakar sir, and thank you for joining us. To give a brief introduction about Dr. Sudhakar, he is an MD DM nephrology and has been esteemed member of Indian Society of Nephrology. He has special interest in renal transplantation and ABO incompatible renal transplantation. Moreover, Dr. Sudhakar has also published many research papers and have numerous awards and achievements in his name. Currently, he is associated as a consultant nephrologist in Yashoda Hospital, Hyderabad. Today, Dr. Sudhakar would be enlightening us with role of azathioprine in renal transplant, which would be beneficial for many doctors and viewers who have joined us. So, without any further ado, I welcome Dr. Sudhakar and would request him to please carry forward the session. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Uh, Thank you, the RPG team, for a kind introduction. Today, it's a difficult job to defend a molecule which has been there for quite some time and was proven to be very useful in renal transplantation, and suddenly is being supplemented or substituted with a different molecule. But still, we are trying to establish a role for azathioprine in the current immunosuppression for renal transplantation. What are the scope? What is the scope, and where are the situations specifically where you can include azathioprine as part of the immunosuppression for renal transplantation? So this is what we'll try to focus. To start with, the renal transplantation, coming to the slide that you are seeing, it usually is done on the right side. The slide is representing it on the left side. So that is a rare phenomena. Usually you see that most of the transplants are on the right side, not on the left. So before we embark on looking at what is the role of azathioprine in the current era, we need to see what are the roots of azathioprine, how did it make inroads into the renal transplantation immunosuppression. So Mr. George Herbert Hitchings and Gertrude Ilion synthesized azathioprine in 1957. So it's a very old molecule. That is what I was trying to tell you. So both of them were awarded a Nobel Prize for use of innovative methods for rational drug design for development of new drugs. So they had a good reward for discovering or synthesizing azathioprine. So Roy Collin, I think majority of renal transplant or the nephrology students will know. It's called Ledbetter and Roy Collin method of ureteric anastomosis. So he is the one who started doing transplantation at a very early era, close to 1930s and 50s. So that is the era where he used to practice transplants over people, including few early animal transplantations. So he was the one who was doing, he's a professor of surgery who was doing transplants, and he introduced 6-mercaptopurine as an experimental immunosuppressant for kidney and heart transplant. So again, based upon the innovators' advice, he started using azathioprine instead of 6-mercaptopurine. So azathioprine is basically a purine synthase inhibitor. So it affects the DNA and RNA synthesis. So it reduces the amount of RNA and DNA synthesized in the cell. So in tissue, azathioprine is usually converted into 6-mercaptopurine. Basically, what we are trying to tell you is azathioprine is a prodrug for 6-mercaptopurine, which reduces its toxicity. So use of azathioprine is started with transplantation, obviously, and then subsequently it's is currently used in rheumatoid arthritis, Wegener's granulomatosis, inflammatory bowel disease, polymyositis, sarcoidosis, SLE. Basically, we are trying to tell you that wherever immunity is involved, that is the place where it is being used. So wherever there is autoimmune diseases or immunity is involved, it's trying to get into it. So in late 1980s, Burroughs Wellcome, the sole producer of azathioprine in the world, increased the price in India 7 times. So the drug initially which we used to use was Imuran, And then subsequently, in response to an appeal from the transplant community, an indigenous product was launched from India, from Sterling. Mr. Subhash and Dr. Lal, they organized trials to evaluate the product. So majority of the centers, one of them was Christian Medical College, where I have done my DM. So they have done trials, and the results of efficacy of Azaran was published in 1991. So until the introduction of cyclosporin into immunosuppressive armamentarium in 1983, steroids and then azathioprine, then cyclosporin. So with introduction of cyclosporin, the graft survival has increased significantly, and it has proven very helpful for improving the graft outcomes for our transplant. So current immunosuppression is full of mycophenolate mofetil or sodium, which I prefer to use mycophenolate sodium. And in addition to that, we are using tacrolimus and steroids. So we are trying to pitch in where azathioprine stands in terms of mycophenolate. So long-term outcomes of renal transplantation was the initial aim to assess impact of various immunosuppressive protocols on long-term patient survival and graft survival following renal transplantation. So it was a retrospective single-center cohort study, and sample size was around 765 consecutive adult renal transplant recipients. 10-year follow-up period for 765 recipients were. So study population was group 1 received induction therapy, and there was no induction therapy. Subgroup 1 intention to treat analysis was done, who received a transplanted organ and at least one dose of intended immunosuppressive therapy, but the therapy was later changed during follow-up. Subgroup 2 on randomized therapy, in whom initial immunosuppression was maintained throughout the entire follow-up, constituted the ORT group. So the results were comparable when you are looking at azathioprine, and then you are looking at tacrolimus and mycophenolate. Patient who received a combination of TAC and AZA has higher patient survival compared to a patient with TAC and MPA after 10 years. So this was something which was not very pertinent to our discussion in terms of replacing AZA and where AZA stands in our immunosuppression. Yeah. So comparison of AZA with MMF in a living donor kidney transplantation. So outcomes were acute rejection episode at 1 year, infections, renal function, graft loss, and these are the outcomes that they have looked at. So looking at the acute rejections, it was pretty much similar, and it didn't differ statistically, attained significance in terms of using mycophenolate and azathioprine when we are looking at prevention of acute rejections episodes at 1 year. So comparison of AZA with MMF in a living donor transplantation, the incidence of infections was similar in two groups when you look at 20% and 22.1%. And again, the p-value was not significant statistically. So 3 patients developed CMV disease, of which 2 were in MMF group. So graft loss, the rate of graft loss and death was similar in 2 groups. So all of them didn't show any difference in terms of using mycophenolate and azathioprine. So overall survival, again, it didn't show much significance. Other times, when you compare to cost, that is the one which differs. So mycophenolate is far more costly compared to azathioprine, which is very economical and more appropriate for our patients who are going to go for a long-term immunosuppression. So this study suggests that in tacrolimus-based immunosuppression, azathioprine may be as good as MMF as maintenance immunosuppressive therapy or drug in living donor kidney transplantation. It is also a more cost-effective immunosuppression. So this is what we are trying to tell you is 2,205 living donor kidney transplants were there. Azathioprine is most cost-effective in immunosuppression, particularly TAC-based triple drug immunosuppression. So tacrolimus, when you compare between tacrolimus with MMF and tacrolimus with azathioprine, so it seems to be almost scoring on par with MMF in terms of comparison of azathioprine and MMF. So comparing AZA versus MMF in combination with tacrolimus and steroids, patient survival was almost similar. Patient's infection rate was also similar, and it is much more cheaper. So as the evaluation of efficacy and safety of azathioprine in fresh cases of renal transplantation. So this is a study which was done in 1991. So there was no instance of severe bone marrow suppression or hepatitis in either group, and none of the patients had any drug-related adverse. The results of this study show that azathioprine is equally efficacious and safe as an immunosuppressive regimen in renal transplants, compared statistically satisfactory in all respects with imported formulation of Imuran, and has an added advantage of being easily available and less costly. So this was something which compared between Imuran and Azaran. So mycophenolate mofetil versus azathioprine for prevention of chronic allograft dysfunction in renal transplantation. So this MISS study was was published in 2007 in Journal of American Society of Nephrology. So renal transplant patients on cyclosporin and microemulsion MMF was not better than azathioprine in preventing acute rejections at 21 months. So it's like more than 2 years of comparison, and treatment of MMF was 15 times more expensive compared to patients on azathioprine. So 248 patients were there in MMF 1 gram BD or azathioprine 75 or to 100 milligram OD. So mean GFR at 5 years difference was 4.6 ml per minute, mortality of 4% in both, adverse events were same, outcomes in both groups comparable, also among those with or without steroids. So in kidney transplantation, the long-term risk-benefit profile of MMF and azathioprine therapy in combination with CSA is similar. In view of cost, standard immunosuppression for kidney transplantation should perhaps include azathioprine rather than MMF. So comparison of azathioprine with mycophenolate mofetil in a living donor transplant program. Again, 205 patients were checked, tag-based triple immunosuppression, 113 patients on AZA and 92 patients on MMF. So 37 among the 92 patients on MMF received induction, whereas 70 patients among 113 patients who received azathioprine received induction. Acute rejection rates similar in AZA and MMF, no difference in subgroups with or without IL-2 receptor blockers. Infection, death, and graft loss were similar. MMF is again 6 times. So when you are looking at comparison in tacrolimus-based immunosuppression, azathioprine may be as good as MMF in living kidney donor transplantation. So basically what we are trying to impress upon is in the current era where we are using tacrolimus as part of immunosuppression, probably comparing mycophenolate with azathioprine may be a good option, particularly when you are looking at patients who are cost restrained. So here was one more 15-year follow-up randomized trial between mycophenolate and azathioprine. Total number of patients were around 133, 45 were on AZA and 44 each on 2 grams per day and 3 grams per day of MMF with mean follow-up of almost 13.8 years. Statistically significant differences between the groups in patients or graft survival, cancer or kidney function. So death censored graft survival best in 3 grams per day mycophenolate mofetil and worst in 2 grams per day mycophenolate. By 5 years, 42% of MMF group had switched permanently to azathioprine, whereas crossovers from azathioprine to MMF was rare. So short and long-term outcomes of mycophenolate versus azathioprine in large cohort of renal transplant patients. Primary outcome, incidence of acute rejection was there. Secondary outcomes was incidence of transplant glomerulopathy, chronic rejection, graft loss, or death were included. So the 1656 patients were included. Overall acute rejections was 8.9%. Younger patients were more likely to experience acute rejections irrespective of MMF or AZA. More of older patients, AZA treated patients had graft loss. No difference in short-term or long-term outcomes. The patients had higher incidence of acute rejection of anti-metabolite used. So when you are comparing pediatric patients switched to azathioprine within 3 months and analyzed 2:1 ratio with those on MMF, 16 patients on AZA, 32 on MMF. So mean GFR for AZA group was 76.9, whereas mean GFR for MMF group was 89.2. Biopsy proven acute rejections were 4 in AZA and 4 in MMF. So no difference in EGFR and BPAR or biopsy proven rejections. Patients and graft survival benefit between AZA and MMF at 1 year was noted, even pediatric kidney transplant patients. So azathioprine in pregnancy. So this is where I think most of azathioprine role comes into in the current immunosuppressive era. So whenever we see any patient who young females who are planning for pregnancy and have stable graft function and stable immunosuppression to reduce to the embryo or zygote. So whenever the patient on transplant patient who is planning for pregnancy, we'd like to call her at least 3 months before the planned conception, and then change her mycophenolate to azathioprine, and then reduce the chance of tetragenicity. So the choice of immunosuppression is to be individualized and decision made after full disclosure to the patient and family about options. So whenever we are discussing pregnancy in transplant patients, we'll tell them the choice of changing over from mycophenolate to azathioprine, and then continuing it until termination of pregnancy, and then subsequently reinitiating or continuing azathioprine depending upon the tolerance of the patient after pregnancy. But most of the times what we would like to do is any scenario where mycophenolate toxicity is being experienced in terms of GI intolerance, or in terms of bone marrow suppression, or in terms of increased incidence of infections in thyroid and mycophenolate. So if a patient presents to us with more of diarrhea or more of leukopenia, so we would like to change mycophenolate to azathioprine. So that is when. And before we introduce azathioprine anywhere in renal transplantation or in autoimmune disease treatment protocol, we would like to rule out a TPMT deficiency, or there is a new molecule which is called the UD15. So these are the two genotype or phenotype. TPMT phenotype is also available. So we would like to check this enzyme before we initiate on azathioprine, and subsequently we would like to review these patients after 6 weeks to monitor for any bone marrow toxicity secondary to azathioprine. So these are the two precautions that we would like to take. And to introduce azathioprine in the current immunosuppression may be difficult to advocate, but the current immunosuppression is a standard immunosuppression which includes tacrolimus and mycophenolate. So wherever there is a scope for the azathioprine, I think it performs equally. That is what we will try to impress upon. And wherever the scenarios like GI intolerance, or a patient looking forward to pregnancy, or someone who is having severe bone marrow toxicity or increased susceptibility to infections on mycophenolate, probably we can consider azathioprine as a good alternative, because it has proven efficacy, as well as there is no significant inferiority compared to mycophenolate. So this is what we are trying to advocate. So hopefully azathioprine has been around for 7 decades. Its efficacy and low side effect profile are well known, have shown evidence that azathioprine is not inferior to MMF. So I think you can always choose, consider its use in low risk renal transplantation, particularly who have good HLA match, or mother to say son or mother to daughter donor with a good HLA match. So you have evidence, and now be the judge.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this wonderful presentation and highlighting all the important aspects related to role of azathioprine in renal transplant. Now, I would request the participants or the doctors who have joined us, if they have any questions, they can type it in the Q&A box below. Sir would be happy to answer them. We have one question in the Q&A box, sir.
Right, sir. Recently, the DCGI has approved 75, and the 50 mg and 100 mg is available in India. How do you escalate and de-escalate, and what would be the role of the SKUs like 75 mg in the renal transplant? What's your practical view on this escalation
Usually
and
the dose at
de-escalation?
which we start is around 1.5 to 2 mg per kg body weight. That is what, whenever we are looking at azathioprine as a choice for immunosuppressant, so the dose that we are looking at is 1.5 to 2 milligram per kg per day. So usually we would like to give it as OD dose, but if the patient is comfortable taking at BD dose, we would like to split the same dose and then give it. So whenever you are looking at 1.5, usually most of our transplant patients will be somewhere around 50 to 70 kg. That is span, and particularly when we are starting immunosuppression post-transplant, most of them will be around 50. So when you are looking at 1.5, so usually 75 mg is the dose that we usually would like to do. So what we used to encourage our patients is to split the tablet and then take it when we are using only 50 mg. Now that we have 75 mg, it will be much more easier for our patients. And most of the female patients will be falling into that weight group of around 50 kg. So they will definitely benefit with 75 mg.
That's great. Very well said by you, sir. Thank you for this comment. How frequently are you doing TPMT, and
So
what's the infrastructure available in India?
So
How frequently it's been done?
TPMT is definitely available, and most of the patients who are going to be initiated on azathioprine are given an option at least. So it's not very expensive. So definitely it will be somewhere around 5 to 7,000. That's a range that we are looking at. I don't know the exact cost, but usually most of the patients are getting it done. So we definitely give an option to them, and we would see that, because with the current legal issues, we should always give an option and then taken a signature in giving that this option was given to them before we initiate on azathioprine. The other issue with azathioprine is pancreatitis. I don't know whether you would like to highlight that fact or not, but we have seen quite a few patients who have come back to us on azathioprine with pancreatitis. So particularly when you are looking at a low cost, low risk transplant where you are going to use a slightly higher dose of steroids and azathioprine, both are known to precipitate pancreatitis. So you should be more careful. So whenever you are looking at low risk transplant and advocating high dose steroids and azathioprine.
Right. You talked about switching patient from MMF to azathioprine because of adverse drug reactions to MMF, like nausea, vomiting, and gastritis, or GI related side effect.
Yeah.
Is there any other reason why would miss? I'm not recommending you to recommend that. Why would anybody one should shift from MMF to azathioprine? What is it? The clinical outcome, the acute, the rejection, or overall survival, graft survival, or what exactly additionally you would like to tell us?
See, my perspective of changing over a patient from mycophenolate to azathioprine is purely because of the adverse effects of mycophenolate. Otherwise, we are not looking at rejection with the current era. We are much more happy to use mycophenolate in place of azathioprine. So I have to be honest with you. But when we are looking at patients who are having recurrent issues with recurrent infections because of over immunosuppressive, see, most of the patient profile that we look at are initially the risk will be with more of rejection. Subsequently, once they are into second or third year or fourth year of transplant, most of them end up with infections or hematological malignancies. So these are the two major pitfalls that we have when we are managing our renal transplant patients. So whenever there is a patient who is having a profile of recurrent, say, urinary tract infections or opportunistic infections, that is the time when we look to decrease his overall immunosuppression. Probably we clinically understand that probably he doesn't require that much of immunosuppression. So that is the time when we are going to scale down on immunosuppression. So obviously we want tacrolimus to be there because it is very effective. The other drug that we can give a bit of leeway is change the mycophenolate to azathioprine. So that will decrease the immunological suppression or immune suppression of the patient, and then get rid of his recurrent infections. So don't look at rejection episode as a marker to change over to azathioprine. Look for side effects. Someone who is having persistent diarrhea with no apparent cause for that apart from a drug like MMF, that is when we look at changing over this drug from MMF to azathioprine. And probably the one point that I would like to insist is managing a patient's immunosuppression when the graft is going for dysfunction. That is when we actually see to decrease immunosuppression so as to reduce the impact of high immunosuppression in a failing graft. So you need to understand this sentence very carefully. When you are looking at a failing graft, giving the standard immunosuppression will be more counterproductive when compared to decreasing the immunosuppression. So we are trying to strike a new balance or new normal for this patient, where we can accept a bit of graft dysfunction, at the same time reduce the risk of infection, so that he can tide over the crisis of going for an infection with a failing graft.
Right,
I hope
very
I'm
valid.
not confusing.
Yeah, very valid point. You brought it into the discussion, and one should also look for this way uh, for the failing graft, and there should be more and more studies on this. Clinical data should come. One more thing, sir, is there is anything which is as compared to MMF and Azoran, the impact on the graft survival after 5 years? Anything that you would like to comment on? Ki the Azoran has better or than MMF after 5 years, long term.
See, long-term graft survival, say when we're looking at, say, data from institutes like CMC Vellore, where they have been doing transplants since 1971, if you ask any senior guy, he will say they were very happy with Pred and Aza. I mean, prednisolone and azathioprine. Unfortunately, see, we don't have a comparative study. We are talking about a generation which has been very comfortable with Pred and Aza. And the prospective data is coming up for the next generation. So since 1995 onwards, we started using mycophenolate, and the appropriate data for tacrolimus is there since 2005. So probably next 10 years, we will be able to tell whether it was superior, Pred and Aza was superior in terms of TAC and MMF or not. But fingers crossed, current generation, I still believe in TAC and MMF. Trying to be honest with you.
Yeah, great. One anonymous attendee is asking us that, sir, I have been prescribing Azoran for lupus. What would be the duration?
Sir, lupus duration of Azoran will depend upon the disease activity. So whenever you are looking at azathioprine, I think your doctor thought that you are slightly better. So then only they will switch over from mycophenolate or endoxan to azathioprine. That means you are in remission. So once you are in remission, if you have a sustained remission for the next 2 years, then they can slowly start tapering of azathioprine, and then subsequently start tapering steroids, so as to see what minimal dose will be sufficient for you. So this will be the protocol. I am not sure of the duration for how much duration you are on azathioprine, but it should be usually around 2 years.
Right. Well, this is not the question, but just my own. I am asking your suggestion. What could be done to establish azathioprine? You see, as old generation is, they believe in Aza and the Pred, and the newer generation, the Aza and TAC. So, what could be done, to balance this Aza MMF debate?
I think what we should do is probably start a registry where there has been a switchover from mycophenolate to azathioprine. So that registry will give you a prospective evaluation. Unless you cannot advocate someone to go and start azathioprine and say tacrolimus. I don't think that is going to happen anytime. So if you are looking at switchovers, the reason for a switchover and then post switchover prospective follow. So this is what we should look at. So better to start a registry as a molecule that you have been advocating. I think you should think about starting a registry wherever there is a switch over from mycophenolate to azathioprine. I think you can start doing it for, say, probably last 10 years, and then look for the prospective evaluation, and then subsequently also. Probably that will be a great idea if someone can pick it up.
Yeah, it's a really great idea what you are, have given. What would be practical average duration of switchover according to you?
So usually what we experience is probably switchovers happen only after 1 year. See, 1 year, why I'm talking about is most of the patients usually would tolerate the immunosuppression relatively better for the first 1 year, and 6 months, usually they'll be on higher immunosuppression. Most of the infections with the current use of good prophylaxis in terms of CVMV or in terms of herpes zoster, so vaccination and prophylaxis. So with prophylaxis, most of the infections would occur only after the first year of transplant. So that is when we are looking at infections. So most of the switchovers would definitely happen after first year of transplant, or subsequently when a patient is experiencing side effects secondary to cumulative dose of mycophenolate method, cumulative immunosuppressive dose. So most likely you are anticipating a switchover beyond first year of transplant, maybe more than 2 years. So that is when we are looking at a switchover. So I think probably you go back to the institutes where there is a good data, collect patients who have been switched over from azathioprine. I think you will have handful of patients. As far as I was there in CMC for the 3 years, I remember at least 5 to 6 switchovers from mycophenolate to azathioprine. At least that was there. That is a 3 months period that was there in the transplantation program. And then this is per year. So probably per year we had at least 5 switchovers. So you will get a good handful of numbers of switchovers, and then probably you can average the median follow-up of these switchovers and compare them to the population who were kept on mycophenolate. Probably similar in terms of demographics.
Right.
Thank you, Sudhakar sir.
Yeah.
Taking all the questions. Any concluding remarks, sir, from your side?
I think for people who are going to prescribe azathioprine, my concluding remarks would be very careful in selecting the patient that you want to switch over to azathioprine. It's a good molecule, we all know it, but the current immunosuppression regimens doesn't include that. So probably we don't have enough data to suggest a switchover straight away. So select these patients, select the specific scenarios where you can introduce azathioprine for a individual patient. So transplant is always an art. It is something which you should tailor to the individual patients. You cannot just generalize anytime. Fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudhakar sir, for sharing your valuable time and knowledge with us. You have shared a lot of practical information today and blessed us with new thoughts which would be beneficial for all the doctors who have joined us. So thank you for that. It was indeed a pleasure, and we can meet again in future, especially on some patient education program if you permit. Also, thanks to all the doctors who have joined us today. What we will do is we will share the edited video of this session on the YouTube after permission from Sudhakar sir. So once he gives the approval, we will share with everyone. Till the next time we meet, on behalf of entire team of RPG Life Sciences, take care. Goodbye. Thank you.